Thank you for browsing page 121. Here it is. Traveler, Mongoose Traveler 2nd, the Aslan Hierate. I was waiting with anticipation for this particular book, and it didn't disappoint. I like this one quite a bit. The Aslan are very well represented in Mongoose Traveler 2nd, if you've been following for any length of time. They're represented in the Pirates of Drinax, the Glorious Empire, Reaver's Deep, Clans of the Aslan Alien book, and now the Aslan Hierate. So while I love it, and the Aslan are one of my favorite alien species in Traveler, I'm anxious to see some other stuff too, like, I don't know, Vargir. There's not a ton of Vargir stuff out there. I would be really interested in seeing how that works in the current edition. I have older stuff, of course. I'm also very interested in seeing the Kukri and the Hivers. So hopefully Mongoose will keep doing these Empire books, and we'll get to look at those guys. But for right now, we have the Aslan Hierate. And it was written by Randy Dorman. I'm not familiar with this particular author's work. If I read something by him, it's not ringing any bells. So if you know some of the stuff he's done, please let me know. But I like this book. It's very well written, very well put together. We get this splash page here of different, the crew of the Imperial Armed Packet Starjammer. And the various characters are named, and I was trying to name who they're based on because they look like people to me. That looks like Danny Trejo, and that looks like Ryan Reynolds, and that looks like The Rock. I couldn't really place any of the others. I thought that looked a little like Kurt Russell. I showed it to my family, and we were coming up with different opinions, so I'd be interested in from any source, who do you think these guys are? Have you pinned it down? Have you looked at this picture and figured out exactly who they are? I'd be interested in finding out. Not really important to my enjoyment of the book, but it's still a curiosity. So we'll get the nice intro. Who should read this book? I am only going to go through the early go of this book simply because there is a lot of stuff, especially in the section on the different subsectors where you'll be giving up some story and things like that. I don't want to do that. So I'm not going to go through the entire book. Conventions of how the Traveler books are written and read. Galangic translations of common clan names. I liked this because, very honestly, I find Aslan hard to translate. There is a lot of pronunciation in here, so that's really nice too. And I feel that helps with immersion for my players and for me as the GM. But I do appreciate that there's common name translations for us. And then we get a look at the Aslan themselves, who are not cats. They just reminded humans of cats. That's why they became Aslan to humans. And then there are some giant Aslan. The average Aslan's pretty darn big. Males are larger than the females. Hierate society and culture. It's a male-dominated society that's actually run by the females. I like that. They have many high-population worlds, and everything is under the clans. The clans are the ones that actually run everything. The clans of the Great Council meet and decide policy, and this clan owes this clan, and it can get really interwoven, which is some of the fun. And then we have the secret matriarchy, where we find out that really it's the female Aslan that actually run the day in, day out operation of Aslan society. I like that a lot, and I've actually played it that way. I do the Aslan different genders doing different jobs. The males are the warriors, the females the administrators and the scientists, but the female are actually the ones that run things, and I think that's kind of neat. The old movie, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, which surprisingly I really liked. One of the lines in there always reminded me, or made me think about that line when I read this section. The line is the mother explaining to her daughter, the father, the male, is the head of the household, the woman's the neck. She decides where the head is going to look. And I think that was a really good way of putting it. And I think that's really appropriate here for the Aslan Hierate. So there you go. We get clothing and personal items. Nice artwork throughout. Very well done. This is not out in print yet, but it will be before long. There's a couple of sector maps that come with this. We talk about the personal items and stuff that are important day in, day out. Aslan literature. Nice little heroic poem for you there. Just very well done. Aslan meditation, their outlook on robots, how they use robots. They generally won't use robots in combat because that calls into question the male's bravery and things like that, but They may use a drone warbot if enemies are using that against them. Metabots, I'm sorry. Yeah, Metabot. An administrator bot. We have different regions of the Hierate, and again, if you've looked at any of the books that I've already talked about earlier in this video, there's a lot of information about the Aslan. Other than humanity, the Aslan have to be the most documented of the alien races in Mongoose Traveler 2nd. Aslan colonies, and then we get a look at the clans and the clan structure. I like this a lot. Very Klingon-esque, very feudal Japan-esque. In here, honor is very important. You don't want to insult an 800-pound Aslan because that can go bad for you. Different clans and profiles. And then a look at the ruling clans. Ground and space forces. I like this a lot because I have Aslan in my active duty traveler campaign right now. So this is something I was waiting for to look that over a little bit. I'm going to have an Hierate, at least a ship, if not a small fleet, come up and go against my players in their Element class cruiser, plus their other vessels that are with them. So they don't know that yet. They'll find out when they watch this video. And then Grav Belt troops. I love Grav Belt troops. Those are so cool in Traveler. And then private military forces, battalion equivalents, terminating a mercenary contract, or agreement rather. And then we get a nice look at some equipment, the hovercraft, a float car, an armored personnel carrier, Grav armored personnel carrier, a Grav assault gun, artillery Grav sled. Now artillery can very often be delegated to female Aslan as part of their inclusion in the battlefield. There's a hot debate as to whether artillery being indirect fire is a warrior's role or the administrator role, if you will. So I think that's kind of a neat little dichotomy within Aslan society. We get a Grav transport. We get the space forces, which I really liked seeing. There's many, many versions of Aslan through all the iterations of Traveler for almost 50 years. We've been reading about Aslan, but this is a nice modern book that brings them all together, and I like that. Migration fleets and the Hierate. Love Hierate. They are such a great story device. Naval bases, space battles, starship ownership, cruise vessel design itself, starports. This guy is 274 pages, by the way. And again, did not disappoint. I really enjoyed this. And this one's a little late getting to the channel simply because I live in the Chicagoland area, and I don't know if you've been following the news, but in the last 5 or 6 weeks, we've gotten pounded with some very severe storms. We had a bunch of tornadoes touch down within a mile or two of my house yesterday. Lots of damage to my neighborhood, trees down, damage to houses. We took some damage. And this is our third extended power outage. We're in day 2 of it. They've been lasting about 3 to 4 days, so I haven't really had a lot of time to put toward the channel lately. So thank you for bearing with me. I don't know if it's been obvious or not, but... And then the Hard Luck Clan Navy list, I like that. Common Vessels of the Hierate, I really like this chart, and it tells us where they are. The Deep and the Dark, Aliens of Charted Space Volume 1, Aslan Hierate, Clans of the Aslan, all the locations for these vessels. Beautiful picture. I love that picture. And then we're going to look at a Aslan, however you say that, light destroyer. And a Waketow destroyer. That guy tips in at 10,000 ton displacement. That's a big boy. A battle rider. I love battle riders. That's something that's not in vogue with the Third Imperium currently, but battle riders have been variously important in your other editions of Traveler, and I've always liked battle riders. A battle rider is simply a vessel that is carried into battle by a tender. So there might be 4 of them on the tender, or even 6. And then the theory is that because this vessel does not have a jump drive, it can add more weapons and a ton-for-ton displacement basis. It could defeat a vessel of equal size because it's got more defenses and more weapons because it has so much more free space because it doesn't have a jump drive. That's the advantage of the battle rider theory. The disadvantage is if the tender gets damaged or destroyed, you can't pull your assets out of that system. So battle riders a lot of times will just become local system defense boats and things like that. But I've always liked battle riders in Traveler. And we got to look at the battle tender. And then we have a light carrier for smaller Aslan fighters. Also something that's fun, a heavy cruiser. This guy is 70,000 ton displacement, tech level 13. Just all kinds of goodies in here. If you're looking to wrap Aslan into your game, and as I said, I am, my active duty game is going to dovetail with my Murder Hobo campaign, where the player characters are kind of establishing a world government and on the planet of Aston, and there are Aslan Hierate there who are down on their luck who have started working with the player characters. So the active duty is going to be interacting with those Aslan as well, so it's nice to get information like this. We have a battle cruiser. This guy's 80,000 ton displacement, tech level 14, so that's pretty state of the art. That is very state of the art for the Aslan. And here is another battle rider, tech level 14. And the battle rider itself is how many tons displacement? 20,000 ton displacement. Carried, of course, by a battle tender. There it is, the battle tender. Just some good stuff. So if you're looking to broaden your experience with the Aslan, this is another book that you can throw in and you can read this stuff. Commerce in the Hierate, I really like this section. There's a lot of good information in here. And you can get as granular as you want with the Aslan now. We have so much modern information on them. And you couple that with the older stuff from other editions, and you end up with a ton of information about this alien race. How trade works in the Aslan Hierate or just outside of it. Random Aslan passengers. This is very handy to have. Nice artwork again, and down in his lock Aslan. And then we have cargo goods that you can buy for your Aslan trading. Dust Spice is brought out very clearly. Dust Spice is a bit of euphoric to Aslan. It enhances the flavor of food, but also acts as a bit of euphoric for them, so it can become a really important thing in your campaign depending on how far you want to go with it. Then we have encounters in the Aslan Hierate. And then this section I liked a lot, generic characters, because I do this in my campaign and I call them generic characters. Here we have Hierate Wanderer, all 7s for his stats. And then we get just a look at a generic character. You can take this guy, plug him in, boom, you're good to go. Same with all of these. So a little time saver for the busy GM. I always appreciate that. And then Aslan Starship Encounters. There's a Pirate Aslan. They can be nasty. Starship Encounters, non-Starship Encounters, Corporate Encounters, and then History of the Aslan Hierate, which I like. Again, this has been told many, many times, but Traveler is a game that's nearly 50 years old, so I'm not going to hold that against them. I like that we keep getting this. And again, like I said, this is a modern take on it, which I have found to be different enough from the older versions I have. If you follow my channel, you've heard this story before, but when I first started getting into Mongoose Traveler, my initial response is, I already have those books, I don't need to buy them. And then I started buying a couple of them, the second edition ones, and I realized how well done they are, what high quality books they are, and I've gone in all the way on them, and that's what I run. Now that being said, I take plenty of stuff from the older editions of Traveler and add it into my campaign. My players know that too. They see certain books at the table from the Little Black Book period or whatever. They know that I've been drawing from that, and some of that they've encountered before, some of that they don't know too well. And then Prehistoric Kusyu, which is the Aslan homeworld, the Heroic Age, early modern Kusyu. Lots and lots of nuclear wars on the home planet as they're fighting for territory. The Age of Expansion after the discovery of jump drive. Border wars as they went up against other creatures like the Salamani, like the Third Imperium. Lots of stuff in here. I like this book a lot. This reminded me of a good panel out of a comic book, and that's always a high praise for me. If I liken it to a comic book, then that means I really enjoy it. And there they were, they're butting up against the Solomani sphere. And then we go to recent events, and then we go to the sectors. I'm not going to go into the sectors. There are many of them, and there are 2 sector maps that come with the set as well, which means I'm going to have to probably pick this up in hardbound when it's out also, because I've been buying the various sector maps as part of my collection. But there you have it. That's a very brief look at the Aslan Hierate, available from Mongoose on PDF. Quick disclaimer, I don't work for Mongoose. A year or 2 ago, I had 1 article published in JTAS, but that hardly makes me working for Mongoose. This is something I picked up and really enjoyed, and whenever I come across something like this, I try to share it and let folks know at least my thinking on it. Always interested in other counterpoints to it. Have we had too much Aslan in Traveler's Second Edition? Or are we really at the point where we can go on to something else? Like I said, I'd be interested in seeing Vargir. I also love Kukri and the Hivers. I realize Kukri and Hivers are not behind the Claw, which is the most popular area for adventuring in Traveler. That's where I've had my campaigns for decades. But I've certainly run in other parts, the Solomani Sphere, over in the Gateway subsector, in Trailing, Gateway Sector rather, in Trailing. There's a lot of fun stuff to do. Actually, Rimward would probably be the one I've done the least, now that I'm thinking about it. I'm sorry, not Rimward, Coreward, which we got a nice book for that with the Jodani a couple of months ago. I looked at that on the channel as well. But there you have it. The Aslan Hierate, now available from Mongoose. I'll put a link below to getting the book itself. Let me know what you think. Hey, did you enjoy this book? Is this a book that's on your radar, but you hadn't quite decided to pull the trigger on it? Let me know. It's a big book. I'm excited to have it in my library, and with all the other Aslan stuff I've got on my shelves, I'm going to just add this right to the pile. So that's it for today on page 121. I want to thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. Please take a look at the Patreon, see if you can help me out there. I've made some improvements to the channel. I hope you've noticed them. I want to continue to do so. I've got my eye on some software, that kind of thing. So anything with the Patreon would really help me out. Also, please leave comments, like, and subscribe if you enjoyed it. Tell your friends. Let's keep growing the channel. But that's all I've got today on page 121. Thank you for your time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.